What is up, everyone? Cascading Chaos here, back with some blinking shenanigans. I usually do it in the form of Undying for Rakdos Evoke. It's a deck I've been playing since December, but I've been seeing this Orzhov list go around for quite a while now, quite a few months, and it's had so much improvements with the new channel card and a few others. So we're gonna try Orzhov Blink with, the Stoneblade package and see what happens. I'm very excited to try this out. I haven't played it before. I've been more a fan of Rakdos personally because I just love Fury as a card, but I know Solitude has a great spot right now, especially with things like Omnath and Titan growing again since the Lurus ban. So we're gonna start our first league game shortly. See how that goes. I should have fixed the lead tracker now finally. So let's see if it shows. Just waiting to queue here real quick. Hopefully quick. Guess not. Jeez. Definitely a little longer than expected. All right, we have him there. And there is the lead tracker. Nice. All right, starting hand, nothing really going on. One land, effectively two lands, but all I have is a Charming Prince to scribe my top deck. I don't have Undying, I don't have Grief. I don't have Stoneforge Mystic. It's a pretty slow hand. I think we mulligan here. This is a lot better. Definitely not ideal. But on the draw here, I don't think it's too bad. We have Solitudes. We have Touch the Spirit Realm to channel Blink Solitude if it comes down to it. So I think we're fine keeping this, and we can bottom either Blade Splicer or Spirit Realm since there's two of them. I kind of like bottoming the Spirit Realm so we have another threat here. Fetches a basic forest and Arbor Elf. Thinking it's Gruel mid-range here, most likely. I'd honestly just like a way to get rid of the Arbor Elf. Because if they ramp into a turn 2 Blood Moon, we no longer have a white source. But I don't think it's worth just wasting a Solitude here. We're not that desperate, I think. If they have the Blood Moon, it's bad, but we do run a few basic planes here. Shouldn't just be instant death or something. Wooded Foothills. Definitely convinced this Gruel mid-range. They fetch double forest though. Then makes a red. Untaps. Could be like a turn 2 Bloodbraid or something. I just unclo this, okay. Well, we don't even have a grave yet, so I'm not too worried. We also have enchantment removal. Oh, actually, this is only artifact or creature. Oh, okay. For some reason, I thought it was both. A little tempted to play the Agadim's tapped and pass, but at the same time, kind of rather play the Swamp here just to have the channel effect ready for Solitude in case I need to. Now he ramps himself with mana. He has a lot of mana to work with. He can pretty much Primeval Titan here if Gruel played it. That'd be pretty funny. He just cascades Bloodbraid Elf, hitting an Arbor Elf, which is great for us. We don't really care about that. It feels a lot better if we had a Fury here instead of a Solitude, but I guess we can... Before he untaps so he doesn't have mana for Bolt, we can Solitude the Clothis, and then blink it with Spirit Realm to Solitude Bloodbraid Elf? I think that's fine here. Alright, let's see what else he has though. He pretty much played out his hand here. Another land into a Pyromancer? Jesus. This guy drew God. I actually was playing Gruel mid-range yesterday for fun. And this is just godlike. Jesus. Should take the Pyromancer here. Kind of don't want to shock, but also I don't want to lose Tuckanuma here. Especially because I might see myself blocking one of the creatures soon. I think it's fine for this turn to go in for 3. Also because he should be playing a Fury pretty soon. Alright, let's see what he drew. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana to work with. I really do see a Fury coming down here. Blood Moon hurts. Not the worst thing ever, but it does hurt. We already played out most of our white cards though. Pyromancers again. It's honestly the first time in a while I see Gruel going off so much. Alrighty, we draw a mountain. We can't swing for 3 here with first strike. And probably just leave Tuckanuma up. So we can effectively just block something with Solitude, gain some life, Tuckanuma, get it back. We won't really be able to recast a Solitude though, so I'm not too keen on that. It just really depends what he has here. So we're definitely not getting past the Blood Moons this game. Lion Sash is uncastable. Akadim honestly won't be castable anytime soon. Just play it as a land here, I guess. Still leaving Tuckanuma up. He finally finds the bolt. Trades Arbor Elf and Pyromancer for the token. Guess I'm fine with that. So now we kill the Pyromancer. He already has 3 mana to work with, 2 untapped elves, so he can immediately have mana to get 2 1/1s. I don't think that's the biggest deal ever here, but I am fine getting rid of Pyromancer here, I guess. Very big shame we don't have at least 1 planes just to cast a Lion Sash, or even just like a Numa Blade Splicer, start going wide somehow. We'll see what we have though. We do have a basic swamp, so unless this list runs pillage, which not all lists currently do. If they run pillage and pillage my swamp, then it's definitely over. Otherwise, it's not too bad. We can ooh, he's gonna stomp here. Because yeah, otherwise, what do? We can get an Undying card, then evoke Fury, Solitude with a Lion Sash, get rid of some stuff, and have a 4/3 Solitude. Still sucks, I guess, but it will still get us in the game. But this deck is primarily white. There's Stoneforge Mystics, Ephemerates. So I think we do have to just tuck a Numa here though. It'll feel bad if we mill planes. We mill 2 planes, that's awesome. Add this to hand. We mill 2 planes and draw another white card, so I guess this is GG's. He drew pretty broken, but I can't hate. I freaking love Gruel midrange. It's always been one of my favorite decks, and I love Bloodbraid shenanigans, even though he didn't really hit much with the Bloodbraid. His removal is only red though, so Sanctifier feels pretty good, even though it's double white against a Blood Moon deck. But like I said, there really isn't too much we have against Blood Moon here. We can hope to get white and black source quickly. That's one thing I really don't like about this list. I really don't like this about this list. They do not run any sort of fetch lands. I don't understand. And this is a list that consistently 5-0s. But Blood Moon is growing in the format ever since the Lurrus ban, because a lot of decks are still playing Rakdos, and there's a lot of players currently, as far as I've seen, playing Rakdos Evoke, and they main Blood Moons. Gruel is growing because Lurrus was a bit of an enemy for Gruel, even though it's still probably tier 2, I'd say. It did get a little better on the map, and with Omnath and Titan being such big decks right now, there will be Blood Moon sided, especially since you don't need Alpine Moon anymore, because there's no reason for it since Lurrus. I mean, it's a little faster on the draw for some matchups, but for the most part, you would probably want... I think I can cut a touch. But yeah, I would definitely feel better if this deck at least ran like 4 Marsh Flats. Like, it doesn't even have to be the full list of fetch lands like Rakdos Evoke plays, as they play like 7 or 8 usually. It'd still be nice just having 4 Marsh Flats. It will definitely feel a lot better. But for some reason, it's not really seen. It's a little confusing for me, honestly. I guess Charming Prince can go... do like 1 of just to blink stuff. Another touch can go. Blade Splicer feels a little slow in this matchup. We have a turn 1 Grief and a bunch of ways to bring it back. If we draw another white source, we have a Sanctifier as well. I think this is a pretty good keep. He also keeps 7. That's scary. I really have played Gruel for quite a while, and I never have such consistent hands for some reason. I mean, I've continuously drawn, even though it's like a 20 land deck, I've drawn like, what was it? Land after land when I need to find something, and then Arbor Elves, and then Utopia Sprawls, and just keep not finding anything. And my version plays the cycle land plus Renin 6s to make sure I thin the deck out as much as possible to not draw lands. So I honestly wish I drew that good. Kind of like taking the Utopia Sprawls, but I know they're not threats, so let's take the actual threats and try to draw another white source, preferably a basic plains, and then we're in pretty good shape. He goes Heath for a forest and sprawls, I suppose. Stomping Ground. Finds a bolt off the top. Okay. Sucks to be me, I guess. Okay, but the last card we know about. And finds the Blood Moon again. This guy. This guy. We can't play the Rebirth as a land to play this Fire and Ice because that's the only way to cast a Solitude here. Okay, so next turn, if nothing changes, we can cast Solitude, well, evoke Solitude, rebirth it, and then equip Sword of Fire and Ice so they can't bolt it. And I don't see a way where they get rid of the Solitude for the game. So I kind of like doing this now when he only has one card in hand and hope it's not a bolt. If he really sacked another bolt after all this constant sack, I really don't know what to say. If he did, it's pretty much game over. If he didn't, I can just Solitude the Arbor Elf and then equip Sword of Fire and Ice and I'm safe. Otherwise, I give him another draw step. And with the amount of lands plus Arbor Elf he has, he's never going to tap out for me to comfortably do it with no risks of bolt. So I'd have to hope next turn he draws and plays out his entire hand. If he doesn't, he's clearly holding a bolt. So I think that's pretty much what it is here. Plays a land, goes to combat, so he's clearly holding either another land or a bolt. Do I take the chance that he's bluffing? Probably not. Well, this is actually the only basic swamp in the deck, so I don't think I'm ever hard casting the Grief, but I'm obviously not losing a Rebirth to play around with the grief here. Hopefully I can draw another black source, then I can just evoke the grief for the hell of it to take out if he has a bolt in hand, and then do the Solitude. He's literally just holding cards, so it either is a bluff or it's just bolt. There's literally nothing else in the deck, so... We draw Ephemerate, which we can't cast, unfortunately. If we could, this would have been a lot better. Him just top decking that wall can't be helped, I guess. I'm at a point where I do need to Solitude, or I just lose to kill this, though. So I really need to find a black source. There it is. If he has 2 bolts, I'm gonna cry. Maybe I should stack the triggers the other way around just to bluff that I'm gonna Undying it. Just see if it eats a bolt. But I think it's getting a bolt anyway, essentially. Pretty happy with that. And then probably if he does have an actual bolt in hand, he's just going to bolt face. Oh, Endurance. Okay. That's fine, just gives you an additional target for Solitude. Very happy with that. Alright, we can finally get a Solitude going. It's gonna gain a lot of life, but it can't be helped. We can also get rid of Clovis, which makes me very happy. But we do take 2 damage from the Rebirth, which is a little scarier. And I'm gonna take 4 to the face, so he just optics another bolt, I guess. Well, actually, I can remove Endurance here. Whoops. Okay, so we take 1 to the face. That's still bolt range, right? Well, 1, 4. No, okay, so we're fine. Alright, well, I don't think he can get past the Sword of Fire and Ice with Solitude. So now we're getting 5 every turn. This can hopefully be a comeback for us. He does get to cast a Bone Crusher Giant, which we can't get rid of. Pretty far from hard casting a Cauldron, though. I'll definitely be happy if we make a comeback here, just to get back for such insane top decks. He scoops it up. Alright, that feels good. Not much else we can side in, honestly. It's just a matter of getting rid of the Blood Moons. Griefs definitely help a lot. He keeps a hand with Blood Moon, you grief it away, he doesn't find one for a bit, enough to so you can cast a few of your white cards. You're kind of fine, but him just consistently going to Blood Moons like that, it's pretty hard. Alright, we start with a hand with no lands. Alright, we'll definitely mold this. Does he keep a hand of 7 again? I mean, it is a pretty consistent deck. It's a lot more consistent than this one. Especially mana base wise and all. He does keep 7. We mull. No double white source for Sanctifier. No Undying for Grief or Solitude, but there is a Persist. We do have Touch the Spirit Realm though. This is okay as long as they don't have a turn 2 Blood Moon. That's pretty much all I can say. And it kind of feels bad, but I feel like I need to bottom the Sanctifier. Because I want to turn 2 Grief and then bounce it. I mean, blink it with Touch the Spirit Realm. And then we need a 2 lands here. But we're super dead to the Blood Moon. I think this is a choice though. We really have to pray here. Hand of 7 with turn 2 Blood Moon again is ridiculous, but it is what it is. There is a Utopia Sprawl, but he puts it on the Stomping Ground, which means there's no turn 2 Blood Moon. Otherwise he'll just lose the Sprawl, or he's just really committed to Blood Mooning early no matter what. But in that case, why not just get the Forest? We do top deck Ephemerate though, so that makes this a lot better. So we cast by invoking Persist. Explosives? Oh, I guess for the Sanctifier. He doesn't have a green source to pitch for Endurance. And he has 3 lands to work with next turn. So Ragavan. Kind of want to take Endurance here. I don't really care about the Explosives. And then if he doesn't top deck Bull like he has been, we can just Ephemerate again, get rid of Chandra. Plays a Boseiju. Sprawls his land again. Makes red again. Probably plays Explosives. Yeah, Explosives on 2 for the Sanctifier. Take the remaining card from his hand. And we draw the Sanctifier. Guess I'll leave this open in case we need to channel. If we draw another white source for Sanctifier, we can also touch the Spirit Realm, the Explosives, to then cast the Sanctifier. We do draw it. We can shop Godless Shrine and touch the Spirit Realm Explosives now. Or we can do it at their end step, so it comes back in the next end step. So that wouldn't make sense though, right? And then if he finds a Blood Moon here, it'll just end up hurting him a lot too. Because you'll essentially lose 2 lands. And have no forests either. So you get rid of the explosives. He bolts the grief. Top decking again. We find a basic plains, which is nice. Now it's up to him finding another explosives. He finds another sprawl. And passes. We find another plane, so the Blood Moon's not going to hurt us, and we can also hard cast Solitude. He goes to 12. Top decks land. Two lands away from hard casting Cauldron. Haven't seen a Stoneforge any of the 3 games. Pretty crazy. One of my favorite cards in the game of all time. I was so happy when it got unbanned. I was playing Death and Taxes when it got unbanned, so I was really happy. Four mana for a Ragavan Dash. And he loses the 2 mana he had. 1 card in hand, no red source, so no bolt for the Solitude. So I do feel like casting the Solitude now. And now we're 1 land away from hard casting Cauldron. Finds a land. Bone Crusher's the Solitude. Casts the Bone Crusher. Okay. Go in for 2. Play out the grief here. He can't block it since it has menace. So representing lethal here. What does he find? Another Bone Crusher. Might as well attack since he can't block. We find the land. Nice. Two cards his deck cannot get rid of. He has to use Bone Crusher to block here. We get the match. That was intense. He was drawing so well the first 2 games out. Got really doubtful if I was going to make it. But that felt great. That was a really good comeback here. So that was the first game. Nice, nice. Alright. Game 2. I think as a streamer just starting out like myself, I picked kind of a bad time for today. Because a lot of the bigger streamers, demonic tutors and so on, are streaming right now. So, I mean, I'm not surprised or expecting to have a lot of viewers, but still the best time for me today and still having some good fun. I might just do the like 2 or 3 games now in total, like 2 or 3 matches, and then be back a little later on. Just depends how fast these matches go. Respect the Cat. I'm sure I've played against him before, or I've just seen him on the trophy holder list or something. One of those two, or maybe both of those. Can't really recall right now. It is a Yorion deck. And we have a turn 1 Grief with no pitch targets. Unless we pitch the Undying Evil for Ephemerate, which I think is pretty good against Omnath. We keep this. Not bad at all. I don't think they have a way to get rid of Grief here. So that means Grief goes off again next turn with the Ephemerate. He used the turn, so... Ooh, okay, so it's Yorion Taxes, not Omnath. Okay. Cool. Another deck I like a lot. I could take away the 2 Sentinels here. I don't care too much about the Hierarch. And then next turn the Ephemerate can get rid of the Apparition. But I really don't like the fact he has the Hierarch, because that'll ramp him, and also it's a 1-lander. I kind of want to take Hierarch and a Sentinel here. And I can deal with the 1 Sentinel, so it's not that big a deal. Let's see what he has. Plays a Thicket, plays a Sentinel. He has Arbiter, Sash, and Apparition. He gets rid of Apparition for Solitude. On the targeting effect, so I don't get the blink again. Fair enough, fair enough. We draw Godless Shrine, which is great, so we can Blade Splicer next turn. He'll probably cast Lion Sash if he draws a land. He does draw a land. He'd rather play the Arbiter. I mean, I don't really fetch here. The only thing that will stop is Stoneforge, I guess, which I haven't seen any game ever. I can also touch the Spirit Realm, evoke Solitude, get rid of both his creatures, and still pay for Sentinel, but then I lose a Blade Splicer. I think it's okay having the Blade Splicer and waiting for another white source, since the deck is all white, though it does give him time to cast Lion Sash. I think it's fine. It's a little risky, but I think it's fine. Plays a Sash, has 1 card in hand. We draw Black Source instead. Which is fine because it's a land. Next turn, if we draw another land, we can just hardcast the Solitude. Won't attack yet, though. Draws a third land. Probably buys Yorion here. It's gonna be an interesting match. Definitely a fun one. He's gonna reconfigure the Sash to Sentinel instead of buying Yorion. Okay. White source. Not a bad draw, though. Having a Fire and Ice to use here. Sash has a mana open. So essentially I'll cast this on the trigger. He can line Sash to grow the Sentinel. I can't pay for it. He draws a card. A little annoying. I think it's not too bad though. To have a card that's a pretty big threat for him. Yeah, so he exiles his own Solitude to make Sentinel a 2/2. So not pay for it. He draws a card, but I get a sort of Fire and Ice down. I think I'm honestly fine to just attack with the Golem here. Next turn I draw a white source. It's a very fun time with Solitude and touch the Spirit Realm. Don't draw a white source. I still have sort of Fire and Ice to equip to the Golem. Okay, so he's quickly listing the Golem. So we're not equipping that to that. That's fine though. Swings out with both of them, I suppose. Okay, just a Sentinel. Okay. We keep drawing blanks. So kind of want to pop the clearing here to try and find the white source. Can also equip Fire and Ice to Blade Splicer. Try going in for 2. He'll have to block, probably with Flicker Wisp. And then clearing in his end step anyway. I mean, I don't think I'm that desperate to clearing though. Yeah, so he does search the Flicker Wisp. Yeah, I don't think I want to start clearing his end step. Unless like they Leon and Arbiter target hit with like a Ghost Quarters or something, but I think I'm fine waiting just one more turn here. I'm not under that much of a pressure anyway. If I also draw land right now, I can just hard cast the Solitude and it feels much better. He gets his own sort of Fire and Ice. We draw a Mystic here, which is perfect, which is a white source we needed. Because we can play Stoneforge Mystic, search for Maul of the Skyclaves, use that as the white source to pitch for Solitude. The only problem with that is then we don't have 2 mana open to pay Force 10. Oh, actually, yeah, it's a channel ability. I'm not going to actually cast a touch. So that works out. The only problem is Leonin. So I would need... Well, yeah, so I'd have to pay 2 mana for Leonin to search with Stoneforge. So yeah, okay, I do need to ditch the Stoneforge for what I'm doing here. Evoke. Only problem with this play is that now he can equip Sword of Fire and Ice to his creature. He hits and then kills the Solitude. So in this situation, I actually just need to block here, since I lose the Solitude anyway. I don't think there was a better path around that unless I just played the Stoneforge Mystic, fetch for Skyclaves, and that's it. Just pass the turn and keep waiting. Now we get Undying Evil. That's nice. Okay, definitely want a clearing here. Now finding a Solitude won't be enough. Oath of Nissa. Plays Athalia. There's them all. Guess we can wait one more turn, right? So I'm not sure why he shocked the Temple Garden. Just to flex? So he hits for 8. We go to 4. He gets 5 in hand. And then we have 8 top deck. Alright, let's go to game 2. So Truth and Justice is great here, since it's pro-white. Then we have Fracture's okay for his equipment. Not a bad card to bring in. Torok for the pro-white is also great. And then Kotaki, I feel with the equipment isn't too necessary. Sanctifier doesn't do too much either. So I think this is fine to bring in. And then to put out Shriekmaw is actually pretty good too. So we keep all the combo pieces. Blade Splicer isn't bad. Cauldra, they have ways to blink the germ and so on, but they don't have too many ways to completely remove Cauldra from the game, so it's still a pretty good threat. Batterskull is a little less good because they do have more resources for that since it's not indestructible, but still as a 5 cost it gets over Skyclave Apparition and so on. Fire and Ice is nice for the advantage it gives, but it's not really something where the pro colors really benefit you. And then it's just a little too much for colorless cards, which, as you saw in The previous game was a little hectic. I think we're fine with taking a persist out. Maybe even 2, honestly. Maybe take out the Fire and Ice, a Charming Prince. Well, the Charming Prince I think is okay. We can cut maybe the Stoneforge because of the Leonins. Quite a few lands, Lion Sash and Stoneforge. No Griefs, no Solitudes. It's not that big a deal. I'm kind of okay with this. Go to turn 2 Stoneforge. Just search out the Cauldron. Before he can Leonin, and then I don't really have anything else to search. So I'm pretty fine. We can also just get the Truth and Justice. So we're a little more safe from his cards, like Apparitions and Flicker Wisp targets. But I think we're fine getting the Cauldron here. I'm fairly sure I'll get to untap with Mystic. Let's see though. He can Apparition here. He does Apparition. This is definitely a matchup where I would like Fury so much better. It's not too big a deal though. I can shock Emiria to play Lion Sash and hold up a mana, but the Undying won't really matter because other removal exiles. So the only reason to do that is to keep a white mana up to Lion Sash something, but there's nothing in either grave, and they don't really have fetch lands or anything to put in grave, so I think we're fine playing this tapped and just play out the Lion Sash. Might have been a card to set out against them as well, honestly. This doesn't do too much. For mana, guess his own Cauldron, I suppose. And we don't have a way of dealing with Stoneforge. So now it's just a matter of finding Solitude eventually, which I'm definitely not a fan of. Might just be pretty over with the Cauldron, honestly. It's just a matter of, like I said, finding the Solitude. Doesn't really stop the problem because they can eventually just equip it when he has enough mana, but it'll definitely stall the game a bit, at least. Otherwise, there's no Solitude for like the next 2 turns, and it's pretty much over. Another land. Outland Liberator. We find a Grief. Which, I mean, if anything, we can always evoke, but not like it actually does anything. I guess we can evoke and then Lion Sash it a bit. Still keep the Fracture here though, because I do like the chance to get rid of a sort of Fire and Ice or something else like that. He can't liberate her the Lion Sash, so I'm not sure I want to attach it exactly. Maybe should have mulliganed a little more aggressively for an early game Grief or something, but she's a little awkward. Flicker Wisps, the Stoneforge, and then pays the 2 to search. Does get the Fire and Ice. Still no Solitude. Let's try this again. Still no Solitude, so that's that, I think. I mean, he has a flyer here. But I can block enough to live, maybe? He can't play safe and just swing with Cauldra. He has to swing out with everything. If he does, then I'm pretty sure I'm dead. Otherwise, if he just does like Cauldra Flicker or just Cauldra, then I'm fine. He is swinging out with everything. And he destroys an artifact, so yeah. Don't know. Could that have been better if I did mulligan more aggressively? It's always iffy with these decks. Maybe it could have been better. Because, I don't think he had a Stoneforge in the starting hand, though. Right? I think he might have. Because it was the turn 3 curve, it was use a hierarch Brazilians to Stoneforge and then Leonin. Having had Grief would have helped. I think the right play there, even if I did mulligan for Grief, which maybe I should have done, is that since the deck doesn't run Thoughtseize or Inquisitions like the Rakdos version does, I should have just sat on the Grief, waited until they Stoneforge to be able to Grief the Kaldra away, and then it's just a fair back and forth game until I cast my Kaldra that they can't stop. So that would probably have been the better play. At least mulligan for Grief or Solitude. If it was like a mull of 6 and it wasn't too bad and I had a Solitude in hand, that also would have been fine. Because also Touch the Spirit Realm can exile Kaldra. Because exile target artifact or creature. The only problem with that is they can Skyclave Apparition, and that actually does take away the Spirit Realm away from the game and return their Kaldra. Then there's the ETB, they get the token again and so on, so it temporarily solves a problem. But what you really want is a Grief to take Kaldra away from his hand entirely. So I guess that was a pretty big mistake. Though again, it doesn't guarantee I would have seen the Grief if I did mulligan. It's not always the thing, but maybe that would have been the better choice. Pretty good hand here. No companion for him. I'm on the draw. It is a keep though. Arid Mesa. Just burn? Seems like it. Okay, not too bad. They tap out, which makes my Grief safe. Definitely okay with that. I'm also kind of tempted to wait one more turn. It might be a little painful. Might take, what, like 7 or so damage here? But if I wait one more turn, I can evoke Grief, Ephemerate, and have Undying up in case they remove the Grief. But I think it's better to play on curve here. Because even if he does waste, I'm going to take out 2 burn spells from his hand. Here, waste a 3rd one just on Grief. I feel very good about that, and I can get Stoneforge Mystic next turn and Batterskull. So I think that's fine. If he has creatures and lands in hand though, and he doesn't top deck another burn spell for Grief, I can Grief Ephemerate next turn again, and that's just going to be way too much for him to handle. Nice, just 2. That feels good. Two mountains in hand and a top deck. He plays a mountain. Does he top deck another mountain? Because I'll very much still ephemerate the Grief here. Swift Spear that he doesn't play out? Why wouldn't he play it? That's weird. Okay. Well, Urborg, Mystic, get Batterskull, and I think that would just be a concede from him. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Almost lost it there for a second. Alright, so he plays the land and scoops. Alrighty then. Sanctifier helps a bit for sure. Don't think there's much else to add against Burn. We already have a pretty good matchup. Persist is kind of slow, but not too bad because of all the burn spells that can go towards our creatures. So I'm still fine with keeping Persists. Fire Knight, Batterskull, Cauldra are amazing. Blade of the Oni kind of feels unnecessary. Lion Sash kind of feels unnecessary now that Luris is gone and Burn. He probably has Sanctifiers and Rest in Pieces. Which I don't really care about Sanctifiers. I have Solitudes. Rest in Peace doesn't matter too much because I mostly focus on the Ephemerate aspect. And I don't think I should side out Persist just because of Rest in Peace. Maybe siding out Maul is okay. And the Blade. I think it's pretty fine. Keeps a hand of 7. A little slow, but I think it's okay here. Turn 1, Godless Shrine tapped. Turn 2, Shock Agadim. Grief. Oh, now I have Undying Evil, so that's even better. Well, Agadim is still my only other land, so I have to do the Persist here, unfortunately. Take the bolt. Definitely don't care about Skewer the Critics. But there's Eidolon and Bone Crusher. Bone Crusher is a little scarier here. Because he can get rid of... Well, he can't get rid of Grief with it, but... he can essentially do damage anywhere and then also have a 4/3 up. I definitely don't like that. Well, Eidolon just sits there and I do have removal for it. Plays a Tarn, plays the Eidolon. Eidolon might hurt him more than it hurts me this game as well. Not sure if I attack yet, though. That'll give him a chance to hit me with Eidolon and Skewer the Critics. Unless I shock and play something to defend, but then I'm just taking 6 damage for no reason. So let's play as conservative as possible with our life total. Looks like it was the right play. Undying Evil doesn't really work here. But I think this turn we can afford to attack. Then play Charming Prince, gain 3 life. So essentially it just comes in for free. Or we can just drop the Lion Sash and take 3. Don't attack yet. I think I'm fine with Charming Prince though. Let's also see what he does if he has something like a bolt in response. He can also have Skullcrack in response to the Charming Prince. Be nice to see a Solitude here or a third land soon, which makes me want to scry with Charming Prince. If he does Skullcrack in response, then like before I choose the mode, then for sure, but otherwise, yeah, let's just gain 3 life. He does have the Skullcrack, but he also burns himself in the process. I also have Undying Evil for Charming Prince for some shenanigans with that too. And you can also touch the Spirit Realm Charming Prince. It's only a channel, it's an activated ability, so Eidolon won't trigger on touch the Spirit Realm, and then you just gain 3 again. So there are some things I can do to take advantage of his life gain. Lava Spikes my face. Taking 2 in the process, and then skewer the critics, I suppose. Oh, he actually skewered the critics, the Charming Prince. That's a good choice. He's left with 1 card in hand, puts me to 5. Getting awfully close here. Can put him to 5 as well. And channel now. Because there has to be a burn spell in his hand. Goblin Guide, okay. He might attack with the Eidolon and force like the most unfortunate trade ever too. Because I definitely don't want to trade with him here. But I kind of have to. Because that hitting puts me to 3. Any of the burn spells in his entire deck kills me. And hold back for what? Just so I can hit him for 3? I don't have a burn spell. I can't beat him with just that, so. It just sucks that I'd like to wait another turn, because that way I can trade with Eidolon and Undying Evil and get it back. But that still puts me to 3. So I think I do have to take the trade here. He's also considering it too. But yeah, I do have to take the trade. Find the 3rd land. Play a Blade Splicer to almost present lethal here. Does he have a burn spell in hand? He's waiting until end step 4. No, he just passes? Okay. What does he have in hand then? A land and 1 card. So still a very close game though. Land falls me. I have Solitude to gain life, which is great. So I can play Lion Sash. Attack for 1, put him to 4. Then I can Solitude my own creature to stay alive. Just sucks because I'd want to Solitude one of my weaker creatures and then Undying Evil to Solitude, so Solitude lives. The only problem with that is my creatures are just 1/1s, so if he burns me with a spell for 3, then I need to Solitude itself. But I can't. Is there a way I can? Somehow. There is. I Solitude Line Sash, Undying Evil Solitude, and then Solitude Blade Splicer. And I'll be at 1 and he dies. Sweet! That was very sweet. Alrighty. 2-1. Still definitely feel like I should have played that Death and Taxes game better in game 2. Don't think there was much to do game 1 though. Game 2 I probably should have been alive if I mulliganed a little more aggressively for the Grief play. And then just play it safe for the Cauldra, because that is one of the main win cons. Also kind of awkward playing so safe with the Grief against that exact play, because Stoneforge Mystic is a 4 of and Cauldra is a 1 of. It's 5 cards in 80, and you're just playing around that specific tactic. It makes sense because it's a game-winning tactic you can't get rid of, but at the same time, I don't know how good it is. It really depends on the hand you have. If you don't have a really active hand, then you're just relying on Grief to like ephemerate something because you mulliganed that aggressively for it. It's really close. I definitely feel a little better with the Rakdos version against Taxes for sure, regardless of the Sanctifier. But I also, from the last stream, I figured out why it doesn't show that I'm in queue. It's because it's not really a new tab or anything for it. It's not a new window, but I don't have screen capture on. I just have the specific capture for the league screen. So I guess it's just not part of the league screen. I don't think it's worth having a full-on screen capture though. I think this is pretty fine. I mean, if I get a lot of people saying, oh my god, it really bothers me that I can't see the queue screen or something, then I'll guess I'll change it, but don't think it's too big a deal for now. This hand is pretty iffy. Deck with no companion. Turn 2, tapped Godless Shrine. Sorry, turn 1, tapped Godless Shrine. Turn 2, Stoneforge, holding up Solitude. Turn 3, Blade Splicer. It's kind of a slow hand, but I think it's okay. Especially not knowing what we're going up against. Stoneforge Mystic into Cauldra can just be game-changing. We'll see. Murktide, I guess? It is Murktide, and we have nothing for the Ragavan. And then they definitely deal with Stoneforge with no issues. So that was a kind of a bad keep against Murktide. I do not think I want to Solitude a Ragavan. I mean, he will be a threat the entire game because I do not have removal in this deck. Another thing I like more about Rakdos, we have Bolts, we have Kolaghan's Commands, Furies. We're pretty reliant on just Solitude for removal here. And then if I were to do that, just Solitude the Solitude, because I want the Stoneforge Mystic. But then they obviously get rid of the Stoneforge Mystic, and I have no threats, so it's nice dropping the Blade Splicer on curve, because there's 2 blockers for Ragavan. So I think it's fine taking the hit from Ragavan once here at least. He hits a Grief. I really don't care to draw Grief here, so I don't mind. If I had an Undying card in hand or Ephemerate, sure, but I don't really have anything going for me for a Grief right now. Dealing with Murktide with this deck, I imagine, is just drawing a bunch of... What the hell? Teamer Murktide? What? I mean, at least he tapped out here, so we can Solitude everybody. At least the dangerous ones, which are Goyfs and Ragavans. Probably Solituding using the Blade Splicer. Before he taps out, he can just bolt the Solitude in response to the Ephemerate. Really glad he dropped the early Goyf though, because now he doesn't even gain life from the Goyf being removed. And then we just probably hold on to Solitude forever until they Murktide here. Or is this just full on Teamer mid-range with no Murktide? That would be a little weird. No green source has been seen yet. Probably holding up Archmage's Charm. This is really weird though. Why would he play a Goyf in Murktide? Might as well tempt him to bolts. Guess not. Okay then. Play a land. Attempt to Stoneforge. I guess there is no charm. I mean, sort of Fire and Ice is really good here. It's also tempting getting Maul or Lion Sash just to have a white card to pitch for Solitude. And Lion Sash is really good as well against Murktide if he is playing it, because I'm confused at this point. But this deck has no removal for Kaldra, so if Mystic lives, it's just GG's with Kaldra. I'll try this. I mean, they didn't remove the Solitude and lost the Darcy with it. So if they had removal, I feel like they would just hit the Solitude. I feel like they just splash green for the Goyf. I don't think they have any other green card that's relevant here. He really doesn't have the removal for the Mystic, so I'm casting Kaldra here. That's gonna feel really good. He does have, what? The only thing he can play right now is an instant, and there's already an instant engraved. So he can't grow the Goyf to block Solitude and kill it and make the Goyf live. So I think I'm fine attacking with both here. And I think now I add the Lion Sash. I'm still confused why he's playing. The green just seemed to dramatically slow down filling up the graveyard for the Murktides. So I'm at this point just not even sure they even play Murktide. A third Goyf, which Lion Sash can effectively make him a 0/1. 2 cards in hand, so that could be Counterspell if he at least plays that. Kinda rather shock a Godless and eventually Solitude. Otherwise I can Lion Sash, he counters, I play Blade. I can also Stoneforge Mystic to play the Sash for free without getting countered. That way it's an ability, not a cast. Just to play around the counterspell. In which case I'd do it in his end step, not right now. Could have done it now to just equip it to Kaldra, I guess. But I don't think it's a big deal. Definitely feels fun playing with Stoneforge again. Miss playing with her. I'm not a fan of Hammer Time, so feels nice playing with her. I think I just equip the Sash to Kaldra and just start exiling everything, right? Since he doesn't have removal for Kaldra anyway. Unless he has some kind of bounce spell, because he was playing blue. But usually their removals are like Unholy Heats, Bolts. Yeah. I think I can just plus him enough to avoid the bolt here. Just enough to avoid the bolt unless he has another one. Yeah, that's fine. Double removal just for the Lion Sash feels perfectly fine. And now I could Solitude, Evoke, get rid of the Goyf and go in with everything. At how much ahead I am, I honestly don't think I mind doing that. But I can easily just hold off to hard cast the Solitude next turn. Yeah, I don't see a reason. Because I mean he'll gain 3, but take an extra 5 damage. It does speed up the clock considerably. But if I do this now and just attack now, still put him down to 7. Next turn cast Solitude and exile Goyf, I think is fine here. I can also just equip Blade to Kaldra. Then it'll be a 10/10. Four mana for Murktide. This is exactly what I meant. I'm definitely happy I didn't Solitude all hastily. But now I think I still want to blade the Cauldra and then evoke Solitude on the Murktide. I can also just attack and see how he blocks because he needs to block to live here. Okay, he just skips it up. So Sanctifier and Vec kind of slows his grave and blocks Ragavans. And early game Darcy's kind of fine with it. There's nothing much else to put in. Solitudes already answers most of the stuff, and then Lion Sash also helps out a bit. Shriek Maw is extremely, extremely good. Mystic is kind of bad. The removal is all 1 mana. I don't necessarily want to keep playing out my 2 mana turns just so I can get ahead in tempo. So I think I'm fine taking at least 1 Stoneforge out for a much more relevant Sanctifier, and then a Blade Splicer is a little too slow. So probably just do that and be fine. A little bit of a weird hand. I think we can keep this though. Turn 1, tapped Godless. Turn 2, we can maybe evoke Reef if we find a black source and then persist it. I don't want him to bolt. So I think I'm fine waiting here. There's no reason to play rushed. He doesn't have black to get rid of my hand or anything crazy, so I think I can pretty comfortably just sit and wait. If he wants to, like, next turn play Darcy and Ragavan, for example, then I don't think I mind just evoking the Solitude instead. Just keeping mana up, so he probably has Bolt and even maybe a counter spell. Which I guess I think I'll wait, honestly. If he taps out to play 2 creatures in the end step of his turn, I can evoke Solitude and then Malakir to get rid of both creatures and have a Solitude up. Otherwise, in my next turn, with 3 mana, I'll Stoneforge Mystic. If they have a Bolt, I can Malakir the Stoneforge, search again, and help guarantee she lives for a Cauldra cast or something. Definitely not bad lines here at all. That is one thing I like about the Orzhov. Way better than Rakdos, because Rakdos, even with Leyline of the Voids sideboarded, even with that, I did have a bit of trouble with Murktide, and Solitude easily gets rid of it. While like Fury might be a hassle, I need the Undying source to be able to get rid of Murktide, so it's a little worse. Okay, so I can Stoneforge Mystic, get Cauldron to hand, and then just pass, leading up Malakir Rebirth if they try to bolt the Mystic. Or I can just commit to Evoking Grief as well. I think I'm fine with Evoking Grief here. Double Murktide. Jesus. But I don't want to leave him with an expressive iteration. That's a little too painful here. But the Murktide's going to be huge. It's going to be a 1, 2, 3. Discard his iteration. 4. It's going to be a 7/7. Even Kaldra will have trouble dealing with it. But the iteration hurts so much though. It's pretty much take both Murktides, leave him with Ragavan iteration. Or it's take a Murktide, take an iteration, leave him with Ragavan Regent. Then you can just cast Ragavan, cast Regent. I think it's unfortunate, but we do have to take both Murktides. I was honestly expecting and hoping for a hand of just mostly removal spells. But this definitely changed things and made it more difficult. On the bright side is 2 Murktides out of the way, so only 2 more to deal with. And a Goyf is already gone. So some of his biggest threats have been removed, which is nice. So he goes for the iteration. Probably getting something like a land, removal spell, and then casting Ragavan. Land. Doesn't cast Ragavan. Okay. Go to combat. Looks like I get to cast Kaldra here. Probably should have just activated Mystic's effect and Kaldra immediately, honestly. I just kind of spaced. I forgot that Kaldra has haste for a second. I think we're still fine here, though. Shouldn't be a big deal. Dashes the Ragavan. I guess that's one reason why it was good not to cast Kaldra. You can't really stop the Mystic activation. At most, you can have a bounce spell for the Kaldra token, I guess. He does have a Brazen Borrower, okay. So he hits with Ragavan. And gets a mana to work with something. Hits a land. Kinda bad, because then I could have cast Grief and taken the Ragavan. Not the worst thing in the world, but a little bad. Hopefully we draw land soon again. So we have a dead Grief and a dead Solitude in hand. Could have kept up Stoneforge to block Ragavan too. Does he have a bolt of some sort? Or Unholy Heat? Okay, he goes to 10. Yeah, definitely should have kept the Stoneforge up, I think. Just getting a little too aggressive here. Hardcast Fury. That hurts. So I wasn't punished for attacking with Stoneforge, which is a nice part. But I do draw something dead, so I can't evoke either of the cards. You know, I guess I'll play it, just to be mana efficient, but there's nothing going for me here. It will be hard to come back from. I mean, I'll need to get a white card followed up by an Undying card or Ephemerate, so I can Solitude and get rid of his threats. Hope he doesn't have a Bolt. Otherwise, I'm pretty behind here. He's also going to flash in Brazen Borrower if I don't do anything next turn. And I'm already taking 8 here, so I'm at 2-turn clock. And I feel like this is kind of being punished for taking both Murktides, because Iteration is what opened up all of this. But at the same time, if I let the Murktide live, I'd be under a much bigger threat much sooner. And he would have still found the Brazen Borrower in time. So I don't think it matters too much. Shriekmaw isn't bad here. Allows me to live a little longer. Maybe, because I mean he still flashes in the Borrower. I take 5, go to 3, and then Bolt kills me. Hits an Ephemerate. Charming Prince kind of helps, I guess. Gains 3, blocks Ragavan. Rebirth. Well, I mean, I can't evoke anything, so. Game 3. Don't think there's much more I could add, honestly. Blade of Oni feels a little slow, and the fact that it's a 3-1 is pretty awkward. I kind of like having 2 blockers with Blade Splicer a little better. But that's the only change I'd really see being done here. Explosives feels a little slow, and more colorless cards does not feel good. Maybe do this on the play. No white source with a full white hand, so obviously not good. I mean, I can play Takenuma, Rebirth of Solitude, but this is way too slow with no whites. So white source, being able to Solitude and channel and Undying Evil feels okay. It's a slow hand, it's more reactive towards their turn 3s or so, but I think it's pretty fine. Probably put back another Spirit Realm. Definitely thinking hard about his hand. So probably definitely not ideal. Maybe like a risky 1-lander, but there's like a Ragavan. So if that is the case, he's thought all this time, and then he plays a land, plays a Ragavan, I definitely have to get rid of it ASAP, because that means he's stuck on lands most likely. Otherwise, I'm not sure why he would take this long thinking. I will keep this, bottom that. Oh, I forgot I was in the play, actually. Whoops. Kind of bluffed. I'm playing Archon here. Just keep passing until I can discard. Whoopsie daisy. I could shock Godless Shrine. Keep up, you know, if you place 2 creatures. I don't think it's a big deal because I can still do it on my turn if he taps out regardless. I can't believe I spaced that. I'm going first. I was just checking my Twitch Studio app to see how the Modern League tracker and stuff was working, so just like looking everything over, and I completely spaced on that for a second. Okay, so he plays bobbles me, taking away my whole privacy with the top deck. So he knows I have a Batter Skull in hand. Still just pass here. It's just going to be a bunch of passing until I can get rid of some of his creatures with Solitude. And as long as I feel safe without him countering it. I mean, no black swords to evoke grief with here. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been too bad a choice to do this turn. But no big deal. I do need to find a land soon, though. I might, if I don't find a land next turn, I'm pretty forced to play Charming Prince just to scry 2. Five Murktide? Seems like it. Pass holding up a counterspell. I think I'm okay with playing Solitude here. But then I'd be exiling Spirit Realm. In case they counter the Solitude, I have another one. Because I still need Charming Prince to look over for some lands. Because he'd counter the Solitude, not the Undying. But he could have a bolt for the Solitude. But then I can't do both anyway if I do one of them already. I really don't like losing the channel though. Because that's how I can evoke the grief as well. And whatever I do, it's more mana efficient to do it now. I think I'm fine. With the Spirit Realm being exiled. Maybe better Charming Prince, because then if this worked next turn I can evoke Grief with Undying Evil and then Spirit Realm. But he obviously does have the counter spell. So now I have to Solitude pitching Charming Prince, which is kind of sad. Unless I want to wait a turn to see if I draw another white source. Just more mana efficient doing this now. I'm just not sure if giving it Undying is the right play though. But I guess I do gain 4 and stuff. Not too bad. We get another Undying Evil, which is actually not good here. I mean, let's hope we draw another black source for Grief and then it's okay, but if he bolts a Solitude, it won't do anything to have Undying Evil in hand. This gets a little worse for sure, just with a dead Batter Skull. Another thing with this deck too, it has a lot of the answers Rakdos is missing, but Rakdos also has some of the answers this deck is missing, but also the consistency factor of having some colorless artifacts in hand you can't always really cast. Whereas Rakdos can pretty much play out their hand no matter what or when. And if they can, like it's a 3-mana artifact, or it's a 3-mana card and then you're stuck in lands, it's still at least a pitch target at all times. Plays a Goyf, which I do not want to attack into, I think. Okay, we find Grief, so we can evoke Grief with Grief and give it Undying. Maybe better to have traded Solitude first. Yeah, that would have made a difference because Goyf is too big anyway. It's better griefing now. So what, Archmage's Charm? Yeah. He did pretty well here. He should have a bolt as well, though. I mean, I take 4, then attack and gain 4. I'm not sure why he did that. He has to have the bolt to do that. Literally has to have it. Oh, unless he has another 5/5 Murktide? Oh, Fury. Okay, okay. Also pretty bad for us. Persist isn't bad. Be even more amazing if we had another land, because we can persist, keep Undying Evil up. But I'll take what I can get. Solitude taking Fury here. Hoping he doesn't get rid of this Solitude and then I can Undying it next turn. Get rid of pretty much everything. Iteration, which pretty much guarantees he'll have removal for the Solitude though. So I need to draw another Persist, which we have 2 more of. Or, because even the Channel Spirit Realm doesn't do anything here. It has to be the hard cast Spirit Realm, which requires me having 3 lands for. Now he's casting a massive Murktide. Oh no, well, 2 massive Goyfs is still pretty good. The Gravehate in this deck is also pretty limited. I get like Living End isn't as big a problem as it is for Rakdos Evoke. So I guess you don't need to commit as much. But at the same time, you have 2 Chalice of the Voids and 2 Dranith Magistrate to deal with cascading, especially Living End. I don't know, it feels like it's a little better having Leyline of the Void in the sideboard. Well, there's a Persist I wanted, but now it's even too late for that, so I think it's GG's here. On to the last match. Holy shit, a 3rd Goyf. It's sad because it's an awful idea. Goyf's in a Murktide deck, a deck that has grave removal, and then he loses a bit of consistency, gets a little more shock heavy, a little more prone to Blood Moon. There's a whole bunch of negs here just for the Goyfs, but in this situation, of course, it worked. So on to the last game. Going against perfection. Pretty cool avatar though. I like that. Oh, would have been a nice hand if I had a black source here. Really nice hand actually. I don't think we can really bet on finding one though. Going against a Yori on deck again. This is definitely a lot better. Obviously putting back the Cauldron. Abundant growth. Yes. Let us do what we do best. Evoke shit and get away with it for free. Bring to light. Okay, okay. Definitely taking ego. And a bring to light, I guess. Still a ways from it, but plays a Temple Garden tapped. We draw a Charming Prince, which I kind of want to play. Because I attack for 4 here. Well, I guess I can wait until next turn. Because he has 4 mana, he can't bring to light yet. I can also just Charming Prince to stack my deck. And just have more pressure next turn. I feel like I can hit one more time with Grief. And then Charming Prince to bring to light. That would be 1 less damage though. Okay, let's just play it out. Play this out. Exile Grief. Blink it. Ooh, Omnath. Jesus. In this case, I guess we do take Omnath. Definitely glad we did that. General Ferris. Very annoying. He can't block the Grief though. But I kind of want to suicide the Charming Prince into it. Because that way, if he does, I can take away his Bring to Light. Which of course he doesn't run into, and that's fine. Alrighty, well, we're gonna have to deal with the Bring to Light this turn. Is he bring to lighting a Valky or what? Oh, it just adds Yorion. Interesting. Blade Splicer. Still want to keep a Muriel's Call to evoke Solitude if I need to. Put them to 5. Next turn he can bring to light Omnath, get a token, play Vista, gain 4, draw a card from Omnath, get mana. It's going to be ridiculously wild, but there's no real way to stop it. Unless I probably silent clearing, sack, draw into a Grief again or something. Because setting up Blade Splicer does absolutely nothing for me. I'll still die to bring to lighting an Omnath. So I think I do just need to find an answer for this ASAP. Which I don't really find unless I blink the Grief here, which I guess isn't too bad. Plays the Vista, does not play the Yorion? Why? Is there an actual reason for that though? I can still go in with both. If he blocks Prince, I persist it, hit Grief, kill his Yorion. Can also just hit for 3. If he doesn't do anything, instead of doing Yorion to draw cards and have more blockers, I feel like his reasoning is he has an instant speed, maybe like Kaya's Guile or something of the sort. Which if it's Kaya's Guile, I'm not sure I want to run Charming Prince into. So swing for 3 with Menace. What does he do? It is Kaya's Guile. So he makes a 4/4. Gets a 1/1. And makes me sack a creature. This gets a little difficult here. Because do I want to just sack the Grief itself? Or force, or like touch the Spirit Realm, exile his token, force him to block with the 1/1 and Ferris. I don't like him keeping the 4/4, but I can just persist my Grief if I sack it. This is pretty difficult here. Because even if I get rid of the Golem token, he still kills my Grief, and I don't have enough mana to persist the Grief, so he still Yorion's next turn, and I don't really have a good way of getting over anything. But him keeping the 4/4 is pretty dangerous here too. Let's try this, I guess. Then exile this. He can also choose not to block here, but that's pretty risky. He does. Okay. Two cards in hand, one is Yorion. Kaya's Guile was definitely a good find for him. He's at 1 health. God, I wish I ran bolts. So to Utopia Sprawl, and now he's gonna cast Yorion. Probably not attack with anything. And then get to draw one. Then he gets another 4/4, doesn't he? Oh, so he does attack with General because he's gonna blink the General as well. So he gets a 4/4. So he has essentially 4 blockers here. So we definitely need to find what, like a Solitude. Won't get rid of General, but I'll get rid of Yorion and the Golem. Something like that is what I need. Instead, we just find a land. We can persist Charming Prince. But it's no real reason for it, I guess. Better off with the Blade Splicer having more blockers. Because he's already going in for 5 unblockable. Because it's flying. Technically 8 unblockable. Looking pretty bad here. It is insane how these 4-color decks and 5-color decks can come back from nothing. I just literally don't have removal for General Ferris is the biggest issue here. So I go down to 4. 2 cards in hand for him. Which aren't lands apparently. They're reactive cards, which is pretty bad for us. Now we can't evoke Solitude, which kind of sucks. I mean, we can persist Charming Prince to gain 3, not to die to the Flyers. 1 instant speed spell, doesn't matter what it is. It will be multicolored. He makes a 4/4. He can block all of my attacks. Well, no, actually he can't. It has to be a multicolored instant that gets rid of one of my creatures, which is highly likely. I only need 2 mana to work with here, so I think it's fine just sacking the clearing first and seeing what I can do from there. Okay, this changes things. Let's attack with everything, see what he does. Depending on what he does, we can Solitude. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's a Kotal. The Kotal trades with Splicer, and I'm fine with that. I will have to Solitude the Yorion eventually. Oh, actually, maybe I should have put a stop in the attack step before blocks, so I can Solitude a token, forcing him to block differently, but then he still wouldn't survive unless he has another reaction in hand. Because I really don't have a way of dealing with General Ferris. I literally have no removal for him. The Grief is gonna die anyway. So is the Blade Splicer and the Golem. If I just hit the Golem token here, it doesn't really matter. Now I can persist Get rid of one anyway. And if I'm allowed to block with Solitude, I can live. I actually go to 7. Take at least 4. I think I'm pretty dead here regardless, but let's see what happens. Definitely should have put a stop in his, before blocks. Don't think it would have made a difference with all the cards he has in hand now, though. Yeah, like I said, doesn't make a difference. So that would have been the right play, but it just doesn't make a difference when he's this ahead. This is pretty good. Not sure if this is too good. Pretty sure they do play Planeswalkers. And Torok is pretty good. Any pro, any color card, honestly, helps a lot. Magistrate can help as well against Bring to Light specifically, but nothing else. Not sure how much I like that. Lion Sash doesn't do anything and Blade doesn't do anything. Maul is pretty okay. I honestly like the Blade Splicer against the General Ferris here. Probably this. Guess we can keep this. Turn 1, Grief, Undying Evil. Next turn, attack with it, and if he tries to get rid of it, I can exile it, do it again, and then Undying Evil it again, so... Well, no, I have to evoke one. Still pretty good, though. Boom. Ferris is a definite take here. Probably Vindicate. Could have also taken the Sprawl because growth isn't ramp, it's just mana fixing. So that could have been a line, I guess. So now we do have a way to get rid of it. Though I'm not sure it's worth it, because if they have removal... Well, 2 mana removal for Grief? Yeah, they do have a few of them, so... Rather hold on to this and make sure Grief lives, as it is my only threat. Plays a Temple Garden we didn't know about. Plays Abundant Growth. Now we can Fracture, making sure he can't Omnath next turn. which can be a pretty big deal. Very sad we don't have double wipe for Sanctifier. That would have been nice. Get him down to 10. Plays a Mesa. Fetches adds Yorion, I suppose. Unless he did find something like a Kaya's Guile. He does fetch. Probably shocks. Gets a Triumph. Plays a Sprawl. Blood Crypt and 2 unknown in hand. I'd love to tap like a white land here, but I still wouldn't be able to play out the Sanctifier because I want to keep Touch the Spirit Realm. Alright, let's put him down to 5. And he still has a land he might need to shock. So he's definitely not going to shock the Blood Crypt, I would suppose. Probably even if it's an Omnath. 1, 2, 3, 4 mana. What's he trying to pay for here? Helix my face? Okay. Just wants to make sure he has another turn to go, I guess. He was at 5, so he did have another turn to go. Guess he doesn't want the Undying Shenanigans to happen, but... Oh, because he wants to shock this turn. So he can bring to light. Bring to light Valky, I suppose. Old Tybalt. She does play the red and black, so I do suppose it's a Valky deck. Niv Mizzet. He already played his land for turn. He puts Helix and Coatl into hand. I have quite a few lines here. I can shock to play Sanctifier, but Coatl can block me. I can just cast the Grief to take the Helix, and he has 2 menaces to worry about. I think I really like that line. Time Raveler is one of them. That's a problem. So you can Time Raveler, bounce my strongest Grief, and have Coatl. Coatl plus Niv Mizzet can block my only remaining Grief. But I can touch the Spirit Realm, get rid of one of them for game. So I think I still have to take Helix here. Hope he doesn't top deck another one, I guess. And if so, it's just going from me extremely winning to me extremely losing pretty quickly. 2 Helixes have already gone, so let's see what he has. Prismari Command. So he tops deck away to get rid of both. Impressive. Impressive to say the least. Time Ravelers. Bounces, draws. And here I make an imaginary red source and dash a Ragavan. That's so bad, Jesus. Another Bring to Light. This guy. This guy. Probably just immediately plays a Quaddle here to try and get another Helix and just win immediately. Buys Yorion. That's risky. Because now him just playing Quaddle means I win the game. Oh, son of a bitch. I meant to do this in the main phase. And now I can't because it's a fairy. Well, this isn't a cast spell, it's an activated ability, right? I just saw the card like click out for a second and I panicked. I'm like, wait, I could have sworn it was an activated ability. It can get over to fairy. And then I saw it just go blank, like I can't click on it, and I'm like, holy shit, did I really mean to do that in the main phase? But no, it's just because it was waiting for me to click on attackers. He only plays multicolored spells, so he can't draw into something that can remove grief. Alright. Final game. How stressful. I think Janeth honestly still is worth it, even though it's just for the freaking Bring to Light. Bring to Light's just way too strong. I need to deal with it somehow. Him top decking it I can't deal with, so I definitely feel like that's necessary. I can cut a Mystic on the draw. Probably a Maul. Not too sure though. I don't like cutting the Maul here. Maybe even a land. Because we have what, 16, 19. We have 23 lands? I think this deck is kind of fine playing with 22. Maybe you can just cut another Mystic? I like playing with 3 though. Spirit Realm is way too good here. I think that might have to be the option. Hope you're not stuck in a land all game. Pretty slow hand. I can Solitude most of his threats in the game, but it's a pretty slow hand. It's turn 1, do nothing. Turn 2, maybe fracture something not that important. Turn 3, maybe be able to Solitude something. Definitely not a general. Don't think we can do that. This is okay. Turn 1, Rebirth as a land. turn 2 evoke the Grief. Well, now I can immediately evoke. Kind of want to wait a turn still, but way too risky. Helix and Guile. Alright, he has 2 lands in hand in the top deck. If I can untap with the Grief still alive, I'll be very happy. Okay, he drew another land. I am now very happy. I can put a stop in his draw step. I don't know. Plays a land that I do know about. His top deck is Abundant Growth. He draws a card. Buys Yorion. Oh! I can almost kick a Torok, which makes me want to play Rebirth as a land to next turn guaranteed Torok. And that way I still have Touch the Spirit Realm for Grief in case he has removal for it. Because that would be pretty sweet. Pretty sweet. Because next turn if all he can do is shock and play Yorion, we're still pretty fine here. Plays another land we don't know about. Goes to 8. Plays a forest. Seems like he's playing Yorion, yeah. Exiling Abundant Growth to draw a card. I don't think I want to channel. I'd rather hit him for 4 instead of 3. It does make a difference. Yeah. And he has a hard time removing Torok for sure. All his removal has white in the colors. Steam Vents and a Vista. So just 2 lands. He can't block the Grief. Goes to 4. Next... What? Can't block the Grief, goes to 4. Next turn he can't block the Torok and dies. Helix and such removal won't work. If he has Kaya's Guile, I sack the Grief, he still can't block Torok. Alright, we got it, folks. 3-2, not bad, not bad. So thank you everyone for watching. I really appreciate it. I always do. Make sure to follow if you're watching on Twitch or YouTube, no matter what. Just follow/subscribe for more content. I do love playing with these Evoke decks, so I'm often playing with Rakdos. I decided to switch it up to Orzhov for the first time. So, I mean, there were some misplays here and there, most unfortunately, but it was the first playthrough. It was a lot of fun. I do like how the deck plays out, and it feels really good being able to play with Stoneforge Mystic, though I think it was pretty much just one match in the league where I got to play with Stoneforge Mystic. I just keep on not drawing it, or end up needing to evoke with Solitude and just pitch it. Like in that situation where they had Arbiter, so I can't really like search for Maul and then use that to pitch. But yeah, I wish I did play with Stoneforge a little more in these leagues, but the deck seems really good. The Channel Spirit card is just insanely good. It's so strong. It does make a lot more consistency within the deck. So I do like that a lot. And there's a lot more ETB triggers with this deck, with Stoneforge Mystic, Charming Prince, and so on. So it makes stuff like blinking with Ephemerates and the Channel card a lot more efficient, whereas Rakdos, you just pretty much have the Grief and Fury combo. Otherwise, you have stuff like Ragavans and Voidwalkers where there's no real ATBs. So it's a lot of fun playing with that slightly different idea to the Evoke playstyle. I do like it a lot. I think I still prefer Rakdos overall. It seems to be a little more fitting to my playstyle, and I really like being able to double Fury trigger against a format that has so much affinity and so on. I mean, the previous league, we went really well and unfortunately lost to Titan in Game 3 because we have Blood Moon out, they find a Boseiju. We find the Chalice on 0 because they don't have Titan in hand, but they do have whatever you call it, the Pact of the Summoner's Pact. So we have the Chalice, they find the other Boseiju, so then Yuland ends up just winning them the entire match because they remove all the ways they have to stop them from playing the game. So Boseiju definitely got me thinking of how crazy it can actually be with certain decks. I mean, Tron, Jund, and Titan definitely are benefiting a lot. Of course, it's not a crazy card to run 4 of for the most part in most decks because it is a legendary land, and you don't want to deprive your mana base too much with legendaries like that. Decks with Run and 6 or decks like Titan that really rely on getting rid of stuff like Blood Moon and whatnot, you can argue to run more than 1, but I don't see any deck running 4 of, unless you're just crazy or super combo devoted. But for the most part, it's a little too strong to just have a main board answer to Blood Moon like that, among other cards like Chalice and whatever else stops them. Tormod's, what's it called? Not Tormod's Crypt, Torpor Orb, and so on. But we'll definitely keep seeing the format and seeing how it plays out, seeing how crazy Boseiju actually is. I mean, that match 3 with Titan was a moment of, a lot of luck, and it does happen. But we'll see how it plays out more regularly on, just a more standard basis. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll be back streaming hopefully in this weekend, maybe on Saturday, but we'll see. I'll definitely put it up on the schedule beforehand, but I'm not too sure yet. So take care, guys.